Okay, it's 7:02. I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting of the Rocky Mount City Council to order on February 10th. It's approximately 7:02. This time, I would like to ask everybody to please stand and observe a moment of prayer. Thank you. This time, I would like to ask City Clerk if you'll please call the roll.
Councilmember Knight.
Here.
Blackwell.
Here.
Joyner.
Here.
T.J. Walker. Daltrich.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Jabaris Walker.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. This time, I would like to bring us to item number 4 on the agenda, which is consideration of the minutes of the regular scheduled committee of the whole meeting, which was held July 8th of 2024, and also the minutes of the regular scheduled city council meeting, which was held on November 25th of 2024. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Motion made by Councilman Joyner, seconded by Councilman Harris. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Minutes have been approved. At this time, there consideration for additions and deletions to the agenda. I understand, Mr. Varney, we have a few changes to the agenda, and I would like for you, if you don't mind, to go over those for everybody.
There's one there's one change that needs to be made on 9B. That is the way it reads now is a recommendation for FY 24-25 CDBG Public Service Awards, and you see the amounts of money there. The change that needs to be made is it's not a CDBG Public Service Award. Instead, it is a 24-25 CDBG Economic Development Award. The amount of money, the $53,250 $350 remains the same. This other change that's related to that is it shows a recommendation for the Wright Center for $30,000 and Ajon Professional Solutions at the amount shown there. The change that needs to be made is instead of the Wright Center, it would be Living Better Life LLC, and the award would be in the amount of $29,900. That's a mistake we made, but that would correct.
Okay. Are there any other additions and or deletions to the agenda that we need to consider tonight beyond the correction? I think technically I probably need a motion to amend the agenda to conform with what Peter has just told us. Is there a motion? All right. A motion made by Councilman Joyner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Harris. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay. Changes have been made. That brings us to community update, and I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Manager.
A few things to update on. One has to do with the garbage and recycling calendar. The 2025 garbage and recycling calendar was mailed to residents in the December or January utility bills. We've heard from some people that they have not received those, and so if you have not received one, you can call the number that I think shows on the screen there. The brochure that we have contains some valuable information in addition to the calendar, such as the dates, times, and locations of our recycling events, items that can and cannot be recycled, and how to place your container at the curb. As you saw in the Committee of the Whole meeting just a few minutes ago, we talked about our new website, and that website will have an interactive calendar on the home page. So it's possible to download the information there on the website under the Environmental Services webpage. I wanted to talk a little bit about Black History Month. This month, February, is Black History Month, and we have a billboard at the Fairview and East Raleigh area reminding everyone that this is Black History Month, and it is a time for us to recall Black history and honor African American culture. Speaking of that, I learned a little bit about some African American history in Rocky Mount, and I wanted to share that with you. It's about a cemetery called the Cedar Hill Cemetery. Back in 1890, the Rocky Mount Town Board of Commissioners appointed 3 African Americans named Peter Darden, W. Lee Person, and Thomas Weston to a biracial cemetery committee charged with establishing an African American burial ground. 2 years later, May 11, 1892, the town of Rocky Mount purchased 2 acres of land near Pineview Cemetery for a public cemetery for African Americans. This was the first public cemetery in Rocky Mount, and it was named the Cedar Hill Cemetery. And I'm not sure why. I don't think there's a hill there, and I don't remember seeing any cedar trees there. But at any rate, the 2 acres were located between Pineview Street and Mercer Streets. In the early 19-teens, the Edgemont neighborhood was platted as a subdivision for white people, and the property owners there prevailed upon the town board to discontinue burials in the Cedar Hill Cemetery. So on November 30th, 1915, a little later, the town board purchased two acres adjacent to and north of the privately owned Unity Cemetery, and it was named the Cedar Hill Addition Cemetery. Then a few days later, December 2nd, 1915, the town board confiscated the sold but unused lots in the Cedar Hill Cemetery, the one that's near Pineview Cemetery. And later, the town board, in April 1916, gave the lots in the addition to families whose lots in the original Cedar Hill Cemetery had been confiscated. And just to bring it to an end, on February 9th, 1922, Peter Darden, who was a trustee of the Cedar Hill Cemetery Association in 1892, elected Rocky Mount's first African-American town board representative, was laid to rest in the Cedar Hill Cemetery addition. Interesting story. I'd never seen that story before. Last week, I attended a meeting that was conducted by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. At this meeting, they were announcing that they'll be replacing the bridge over the Tar River on Falls Road beginning in 2027 at a cost of about $8 million. The existing bridge was built in 1937. The project will include new sidewalk that will connect the bridge to existing pedestrian facilities to the north of the construction zone. There will also be a new multi-use pathway that will be constructed connecting the Tar River Trail to the existing facilities at River Drive, River Drive and Peachtree Street. The bridge will be closed for about 12 to 15 months during construction. They've got a three-mile detour that will be put in place while the bridge is closed. This will be hugely inconvenient for all of us, but it'll be worth it in the end. The average daily traffic volume across the bridge is about $5,500. One of the things I was concerned about is that we have a water line suspended from the bridge, and I had understood that DOT had changed their policy, would not allow water lines to be suspended from bridges, but we prevailed upon them to reconsider that because there's a lot of rock in that area of Rocky Mount, and to build a water line through that section of Falls Road would be hugely expensive. One last thing is we have I think an increasing number of signs that are finding themselves out on the right-of-way in various locations at intersections mainly. Seems to be an increasing number of those signs popping up here and there, and they kind of give the city, I think, a cluttered look. The LDC, the Land Development Code, prohibits those signs in the right-of-way, so I'm going to be seeing if we can arrange to have some of our city employees take up some of these signs to clean these intersections up. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anybody have any questions or comments for the manager? Councilman Knight, recognize you.
I have one, and thank you, City Manager Peter Varney, for bringing that little-known black history to our citizens about Cedar Hill. And part of that is true, but I won't get into what really happened to those bodies that were dug up. The headstones were broken, and they were thrown in a grave, and no one know what happened to them. It was told that some was moved to Unity, but the real truth of the matter that has not been revealed is what I just said. And so I appreciate you bringing that to our citizens about Cedar Hill. A lot of time when history is told, it's not a complete history of the story of what happened to African Americans in this country. And I just I felt when I heard that if I sat silently, that I would have been doing an injustice to our ancestors. But I thank you for recognizing that, and that's why it is so important for this community to support the council and anybody else, any other organization that want to go and help us restore the Unity Cemetery. This past Saturday, Anna Easter Brown, one of the founders of the AKAs, was honored and remembered, and she's buried in Unity Cemetery. It has a lot of history, and I commend this council and Mr. Barney, who has been working hard to help us to restore Unity Cemetery. So that's why, to some of us, it's so passionate because of what happened to those graves at Cedar Hill and to the injustice of the people who was paying taxes but could not be buried in the city public cemetery during that time. And so I thank you for bringing that to us.
Thank you, Councilman Knight. Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Councilman Blackwell.
Thank you, and I just want to add a word to what Councilman Knight stated. I'll just say amen and thank you to our manager for being courageous to tell the truth, because we're in times where it takes courage sometimes to speak truth. So thank you so much for that. I did have another matter I wanted to address as well, and I know that it's been a cold 30 days or so, and folks probably got shocked when the last utility bill came out. That's right, it will be, And I just wanted to ask the manager if you just talk about what we're doing internally to address that issue if people have difficulty paying their bill all at once.
We've had a number of people who have already started coming to the Business Services and Collections Office asking for help, so we can help in different ways. We have some funding from the WARM program. There's another program called Crisis that helps people with utility bills. So we have assistance in that way. We also work with customers on payment plans, so that when you get a huge heating bill, like many of us will have gotten and will get, to get some extension, some extension of time to work through the payment process on those bills. So we're already meeting with customers and expect there'll be even more coming in.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Councilman Blackwell. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 7. I'd like to invite the District Director, Kimberly Mack, for Congressman Don Davis's office to come forward. Has a presentation to make to the Epsilon Sigma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. She does. Wow. Hello. I tell you what, once you come forward, I can hold the plaque if you like, and you can speak to the crowd. No, really, face the crowd. I think that's, I know. There you go. That's probably more better.
All right. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kim Mack, and I'm the District Director for Congressman Don Davis, and I'm delighted to be with you this evening for a special presentation. So I want to thank the council and the mayor and the interim city manager for giving us a few moments to share in a very important presentation. On January the 22nd, 2005, Congressman Davis recognized the Epsilon Sigma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated in Rocky Mount on the U.S. House of Representatives floor during National Mentoring Month. When it came time to locate an organization doing great work in mentoring, Rocky Mount's Epsilon Sigma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was at the top of the list. During the floor speech, Congressman Davis had a picture of the chapter with the young man they mentored blown up beside him on the House floor, so that the people hearing the speech or watching it live on C-SPAN could connect with whom he was speaking about. Many of you may wonder, what does this mean for the chapter, the students of Alpha Academy, and the city of Rocky Mount? This means that your story is now on record with the United States Library of Congress, also known as the de facto Library of the United States of America. It also means that everyone in this room and generations to come can go to the Library of Congress and learn about the Rocky Mounts Epsilon Sigma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and their impact on students, particularly Black males in the region and the city of Rocky Mount. So at this time, I am going to read the Congressional record, and it states, United States of America, Congressional Record, Proceedings and Debates of the 119th Congress, First Session, Volume 171, Washington, Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, number 13. House of Representatives, National Mentorship Month. Mr. Davis of North Carolina, Mr. Speaker, January is National Mentorship Month. It is a perfect time to highlight the transformative work of the Epsilon Sigma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, with their Alpha Academy Leadership Development Program, which serves male students from Edgecombe, Nash, Halifax, and Wilson counties. They are empowering middle and high school students in Eastern North Carolina through 3 core pillars: leadership, mentorship, and scholarship. Since its inception, the Alpha Academy has impacted over 200 young men, continuously shifting life narratives and opening the doors to a brighter future. These young men have engaged in impactful local and global projects, from turkey drives in Stocktober, impacting areas such as Haiti and as far as Tanzania. Mr. Speaker, during National Mentorship Month, we celebrate the Alpha Academy. Donald G. Davis, Member of Congress. So if it's all right with you, Mayor, I would like to invite the members of Alpha Academy and the members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated to come forward for the plaque presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And we also asked if you guys could also be in the picture as well.
Bring that up tonight. No, I'm just saying I'm going to bring it up at the end. I'm good with that tonight.
Wonderful.
Then y'all turn in towards the center. Turn it this way. Yep, you're good. Come right here. Yep, turn this way. Turn. Perfect. Go right in there. If you don't mind coming up here. Come on right through here. Perfect. Excellent. And, y'all mind if a couple of you join? You mind if you join over there? And then Chief, why don't you stand right behind me? Perfect. That's what you do, right here. Perfect. And then right there, sneak in behind him just a little bit. Sir, right here. Yeah, right behind him, just perfect. Good. All right, here we go. Looking right here. Couple more. Last one. You got what you need?
Yeah,
Thank you. Congratulations.
Please tell Mr. Davis.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for all y'all doing.
Oh,
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for what y'all do.
No, I got it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. Thank you.
Good, Greenville's not in the district. I don't know why he went down there.
Okay, that brings us to item number 8 on our agenda, which are petitions to be received from the public. This is an opportunity for public comment. We thank you for coming to the City Council meeting tonight to share your views. And we value all citizen input. Speaker comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes during the public comment period, and at the conclusion of 3 minutes, each speaker shall leave the podium. Comments must be directed to the full board, not to an individual board member or staff member. Although the board is interested in your comments, speakers should not expect any comments, action, or deliberation from the board on any issue raised during the public comment period. At the board's discretion, it may refer issues to the appropriate city officials or staff for further investigation. If an organized group is present to speak on a common issue, please designate one person to present the group's comments, which shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. This time, I'd like to invite Regina Townsend to the podium.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Oh, evening. I come to you, I am a self-taught historian, and I'm going around Rocky Mount to try and wake up our history. As I go through the city, I get bits and pieces from my citizens, but I come to you today to try to get you to recognize Station 1, which sat on 100 West Thomas Street. There were 26 African-American volunteers did not get paid. They pulled. The first thing they pulled, first thing they had was they pulled. The second one, they pull and push. The next one, they got a steam engine, which had the mule on it. But I have been in the fire department today, trying to make sure when I put out, I tried to make sure that I'm right, because no one don't mind politically correcting you. But these are the 26 fire department men. They are in your fire book. They are in the book. But our citizens don't know who they are. The fire station set at 100 West Thomas Street. And I wish and hope and pray that you would consider putting these men or a plaque out on the street so that our citizens would know who and how they were in the city. They were so resilient that, make it true, they came out and they put out a fire. There were two, 1 and 2. Two set on Sunset, 1 set on Thomas Street. They put the fire out. By the time the other ones got to the fire, I guess it was, we got to get things straight, shut it down. So they shut it down. But these are the black 26 firemen. They were not paid. They were very resilient. Freed men come from certain parts of the state, settled in Rocky Mount. And that's just me. I hope that you guys would consider putting a plaque up, Station 1, on Thomas Street, so our citizens would know. We need to let our children in Rocky Mount know that we had someone come out of the city, look like us, talk like us, be like us, and are within us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming forward. I see our city manager here taking notes, and I'm sure we will do the research and follow up on that later. Thank you.
I hope so.
This time, I'd like to invite Gloria Davis to the podium.
Good evening to each and every one of you and everyone in the audience. My name is Gloria Davis, and I live in the Meadowbrook community. I came a few months ago to speak about the traffic in Meadowbrook, and I do thank the City of Rocky Mount, the traffic division, the police officers. I thank everyone for your efforts. There was a study done on Lynn Avenue, and this August report says the report was the 85th percentile speed was 33.4, which 35 is the threshold, which 1.6, we didn't meet it by the 1.6. The volume 169 a vehicle per day, the threshold was 500. The speed cushion score 27.38, the threshold is 45 points. I'm here again because we did not meet these thresholds, but there was an incident in which the young lady is here will speak. She's hopefully she is right behind me, and she can tell about what happened to her with the speed on. Particularly, this was happened on Lynn Avenue, but the speed, they just continue to speed. So I'm cutting my ass short. If we would give her 3 minutes, if that's what she needs, for her to tell her what happened to her. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming forward. I'll invite Sylvia Johnson to the podium.
Hello, good evening.
Evening.
My name is Sylvia Johnson. I live in the Meadowbrook area. I was going to my mailbox and a car was going so fast that I had to step back to prevent getting hit, which caused me to fall on the concrete. My knees, my face, shoulder, hands were injured. We got to slow down this traffic because it could have been a child. And I hate to see somebody get hurt, even worse than me, but I am still suffering for the injuries that I occurred. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this time I'd like to invite Darlene Spencer Harris to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Darlene Spencer Harris. I reside at 537 Arlington Street. I come before you this evening in regards to properties of 535 and 537 Arlington Street that were acquired by my parents over 30 years ago. At that time, community development offered initiatives to renovate your home, lead abatement, things like that, and they also offered low-interest bearing loans at the rate of 3%. The home in which my parents resided in, which is 535, went up under the lead abatement and some other initiative that if they remained in the home, they didn't have to repay back the monies that the city fronted them. However, the home that I lived in, well, I wasn't living in at the time, but they acquired and was for me, I was responsible for paying for that loan at the rate of 3%. I satisfied that loan in January of 2006. So lo and behold, I had another project going on just August of this past year. And when the creditor was doing their homework, they discovered there was still a lien on the property of 537 Arlington Street, in which I know it was definitely secured and paid off by myself. So after finding out this information, I contacted the city manager's office because I didn't really know where to go. So they directed me into the right department, which was community development. And in talking with Cornelia McGee, she then had to get with the paralegal, Renee Moore. So we're going back and forth, back and forth. In the meantime, my project is being delayed, and I'm still not getting anywhere. So all the documents from way back then, we're talking a decade ago, or more than a decade ago, had been purged from the records. How could you purge records and not make sure every I was dotted and every T was crossed? So therefore, the Registrar of Deeds could not make a correction and clear the property because they needed documents from the city of Rocky Mount. So I'm going back and forth with Renee Moore, the paralegal, and she's telling me, oh, well, although the time has lapsed, it auto-expired. So therefore, under the general statute, whatever the statute was, they should automatically just wipe it away. So if it's that simple, if it auto-expired and it disappeared, what was so hard about the city developing a draft and submitting it to the Register of Deeds to be documented in writing. So therefore, I continued to reach out further, and I spoke with Mr. Varney. I spoke to Mr. Varney. I called his office on November 12th. He returned my phone call, I think it was November 20th or 22nd, it's in my notes, whichever. And he would get on it, he would speak with Ms. Moore. So I'm patient, so time went by. I contacted him again on December 9th. He says to me, his explanation was, I've been too busy to look into this matter. So you're telling me you're too busy for me, and I'm a tax-paying citizen.
So, Ms. Harris, I think this is a matter that we probably can review, and it sounds like everything that you've indicated is correct. We could probably bring resolution to this fairly quickly. We just need to probably have time. I do know that this man has been busier than a one-armed paper hanger, so I can at least vouch for that, but nonetheless.
Yeah, we have recorded a release on that already, so if you go to the Register of Deeds, you should find the recordation of the release on that.
On the 537 property? I know there's one on the 535, but it wasn't one as of January, beginning of January for 537.
Yeah, I think, I may be confused between the addresses, but
one of them was definitely done, which is 535. 537 has not been corrected.
Trying to end it by recording the release. I'll check on the which address it is, but yeah, we're ready to record a release on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Teresa Stokes to the podium.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am Teresa Alston Stokes. First of all, would like to thank you all for the beautiful Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast that was held at the Event Center. I've been hearing great comments about it. And I also want to commend you all on approving the funding for the renovation of the Booker T. Washington Gym. The transformation is amazing and cannot wait to see the final results. Housing. Here we go again. We're talking about housing. Yes, we do need housing. We need workforce housing, senior housing, affordable housing, especially on the Edgecombe County side of town. Just want to make sure that the money in which Representative Willingham allocated for Edgecombe County for housing goes to Edgecombe County for housing. Also, I've been hearing about homelessness. Yes, there is homelessness, and that is important. But we also must focus on the citizens who already have their homes, and they're trying to keep their homes, whether it's for need of repairs and not being put, and make sure that they're not pushed out when developers are coming in, because of the fact they are all Rocky Mount citizens, and they've lived here, raised their children here, and they should not be pushed out because of development. Yes, we do want progress, we want growth, but there should also be a policy put in place so our citizens will not be pushed out who have invested in this city. Also, we still do not have the pedestrian bridge and a hotel on Edgecombe County side of town. I bring that up because former Congressman Butterfield, he did get money towards the pedestrian bridge. But as we all can see, materials are increasing each and every year, and the more time that goes by, the more expensive materials are going to be. Now, it's a beautiful sight to go downtown and see all the traffic and all the activity that take place at the award-winning event center, but it makes no sense that once the crowd leaves this side of town, they all go to the other side. And we should invest more in Edgecombe County. Now, if there is to be a one Rocky Mount, let's remember that does not mean one side of town, but continued progress for all of Rocky Mount, especially the Edgecombe County side of town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This time, that brings us, yes, sir, Councilman Knight, I recognize you.
Just one thing. Mr. Barney, City Manager, could you please have staff to follow up with Ms. Davis' request in reference to the traffic study in the Meadowbrook area, please? Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. That brings us to item number 9 on the consent agenda. This time I will receive a motion to adopt the resolutions as printed, acknowledge receipt of the petition, authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the lease agreements, documents on behalf of the city as recommended, approve the bid contract amendment, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute on behalf of the city, and to award rebid as recommended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Joyner, seconded by Councilman Knight. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, item 10 on the agenda tonight is consideration of recommendations from a planning board meeting held on January 14th of 2025 to acknowledge the receipt of those planning board minutes. Overview of requests and recommendations by the interim director of development services or their designee, if you would please come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Joseph Bocook, Deputy Director with the Development Services Department. The subject rezoning or subject property has approximately 1,000 feet of frontage on the east side of Meadowbrook Road and is situated south of East Raleigh Boulevard, adjacent to the US 64 East on-ramp. The property in the immediate, here's a visual of the property looking north from Meadowbrook Road. The property in the immediate area is a mix of residential and commercial zoning districts with existing commercial entities on East Raleigh Boulevard and residential uses including single-family dwellings and apartments on East Raleigh Boulevard and the neighborhoods off of Meadowbrook Road. There are not any special flood hazard areas that directly affect this site. The Raleigh Road, Raleigh Street corridor plan that this body adopted in 2011 designated the future use of the site as commercial, and the current comprehensive plan identifies the site as a smart growth area. Smart growth principles encourage infill, the conservation of open space, and the investment in existing neighborhoods. The proposed rezoning increases the feasibility of development and adapts current zoning to address the need for housing, which remains a priority for Rocky Mount. A neighborhood meeting was held in advance of the planning board hearing as required by the Land Development Code for property of this scale, any property with 5 or more acres. This site has 10. The planning board has recommended approval of the request on the basis that the rezoning can be considered consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and the Raleigh Boulevard corridor plan and is reasonable and in the public interest. Happy to answer any questions you may have. I believe the applicant is present this evening as well.
Okay, so I'll just point out the applicant is Doug Ledson from L&K Development, North Carolina, and the request is to rezone A1 and R10 to B2, which is a commercial corridor. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bocook? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
At this time, I will open the podium to anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this particular matter. Is there anyone here in attendance who would like to speak to the rezoning request of 10.07 acres from A1 and R10 to B2? Hearing none, I'll receive a motion to adopt the ordinance as recommended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Knight. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Daltrich. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, that brings us to the next item, which is relative to the following rezoning requests recommended for approval and found in compliance with the comprehensive plan by the planning board. The request is for Carmen Heichel of Heichel Properties LLC to rezone an area of plus or minus 11.48 acres from A1 to R6, which is conditional medium-density multifamily district. This time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bo Cook to give us an overview of the project.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. The property at 1951 Old Wilson Road, presently zoned A1. The proposed zoning is a conditional medium-density multifamily residential district that we abbreviate as R6 MFA CD for short. It's a mouthful. The property is about 11.5 acres. The immediate area is all zoned residential, a mix of different densities with some large undeveloped parcels adjacent to the site, including the site itself being undeveloped. The eastern portion of the site is encroached by the special flood hazard area, with the source being Koki Swamp. The comprehensive plan identifies the site as a infill growth area, and there were a handful of neighborhood meetings that were conducted in advance of the planning board hearing on the rezoning matter. The concerns that were expressed by stakeholders in the area were mitigated or responded to with proposed zoning conditions. Those conditions include limiting the development to no more than 60 dwelling units, planting a 20-foot wide landscape buffer along the northern, western, and southern property lines, and also peak stormwater exiting the property for the 50-year, 24-hour storm event shall be equal to or less than pre-development conditions. The Planning Board has recommended approval of the request on the basis that the rezoning, again, can be considered consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, is reasonable, and in the public interest. I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bo Cook? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
At this time, I'll open up the floor to anyone from the public who wishes to speak for this particular matter. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak as it relates to the request for Carmen Heichel for Heichel Properties LLC for the rezoning? Is there any member here of the public who would care to speak to the request of rezoning of 11.4 acres from A1 to R6 MFA CD, conditional medium density multifamily district on Old Wilson Road? Hearing none, I'll receive a motion to adopt the ordinance.
So move.
Motion made by Councilman Joyner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Blackwell. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Rezoning has been approved conditionally. Item 11 is a public hearing relative to a downtown major development grant for 101-110 North Washington Street, $485,045 in consideration of the following. Memorandum of agreement, and I believe Mr. Hunter, you're going to come speak to the matter, so maybe you can brief us all on the matter.
Thank you, sir, and good evening. This is in regards to the redevelopment proposal that the city has received regarding the May and Gorham building at the address stated 101-110 North Washington Street. This development is being pursued by MF Triangles, located at the corner of the historic Five Points neighborhood, downtown Rocky Mount, Edgecombe County. The developer currently owns and operates 10 properties within the city, is 100% owner of this development, and is experienced in, of course, development here and also in other parts of the state. This picture here that you see here is, of course, a historic picture of the May and Gorham Building, which is one of the more attractive and more significant buildings located in downtown Rocky Mount. The existing building is recognized as historic under the National Historic Register and is, of course, one of the oldest and still intact drugstores in the state of North Carolina with original fit and finishes. And that there was the opportunity for historic tax credits with respect to this development to be taken by the developer. It is a total of 3 buildings, and that they are separated by masonry walls and separate structures. There's some interiors of the drugstore portion of the building. The proposal that has been made to the city for the application of grant funds, which are for your consideration, is a total utilization of 12,125 square feet for mixed use, encompassing 8 apartments as well as 3 commercial spaces, 2 storefronts for approximately 1,000 square foot each on Washington Street, as well as the renovation of the pharmacy space, which focuses in connection to the 5 Points Crossing, that would be available as a full-service kitchen and restaurant tenant. There would also be private residential entrances available at the stairs to the sides on Washington. Part of this project does involve work in the basement area of this building. The city's current stormwater culvert system runs underneath the basement. As such, there is destabilization that has to be addressed as part of this renovation. In accordance with the memorandum of agreement, the city will be responsible for reimbursing the costs associated with this, which includes infill, the crawl space with sand, encapsulation of the storm sewer with cell phone, and also repair and replacement of the sidewalks that surround the building that have been damaged. The cost for that work will be $173,651. That is in addition to the assistance from grants that the city is providing per this proposal with respect to the redevelopment of the site. The first floor, the pharmacy space, would be turned into a future restaurant. You would also have 2 storefront shell spaces created, each with their own restrooms and water fountains, as well as two residential units that would have their entrance on Rose Street, not on Washington, and also a private residential entrance to those 2 units. On the second floor, you would have 6 additional residential units. This is where the former office spaces were located. The historical elements will be remained, and entrances will also be from the stairwell as well as the hallway. The entire building will be sprinkled and also updated as necessary. The proposed schedule for this project, if it's met, would have that occupancy of the building would be established in the 3rd quarter of calendar year 2026. The total investment that is being made by the developer in his property is just over $2.425 million. This does include the downtown, the major investment incentive grant that the city is receiving, is providing, $485,045, which would be 20%. There is an additional $270,000 of existing city grant funds that are part of this, so the total city share would be approximately 31%. This does not include the additional $173,651 for dealing with culvert stabilization tied to the city's underground culvert system, which is part of the budget amendment that you have presented before you this evening. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Somebody have any questions for Mr. Hunter? Okay, thank you very much. This time I'll open the floor for anybody who's a member of the public who wishes to speak to the Downtown Major Development Grant for 101 through 110 North Washington Street. Is there any member of the public here who wishes to speak on the matter before the City Council tonight, which is a major downtown development grant for 101 to 110 North Washington Street? All right, seeing none, I'll receive a motion to approve the Downtown Major Investment Award to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement and memorandum of agreement on behalf of the city and to adopt the budget ordinance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Blackwell, and that was seconded by Councilman Knight.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Councilman Blackwell.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Thank you. This is very exciting, but what's even more exciting tonight to me, this is the first time that I can recall that every housing activity that we've had is occurring in Edgecombe, Rocky Mount.
That's true.
That has not been lost on me, the significance in multiple spaces within our county, within our city. That's a very exciting thing. Downtown, Meadowbrook, and Brown Acres. I think it's really a wonderful momentum that's being established, and I appreciate this entire council and the staff for working with all of our community to see growth and progress in Rocky Mount. Very excited.
Thank you, Councilman Blackwell. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. One last item that I didn't add at the beginning, and my apologies, are appointments. Do have two recommendations for appointments to committees that I would like to bring before the board tonight, if that's okay. One is for Suprina Speller for the Human Relations Commission, representing Ward 1, and for Christopher Braswell for the Mayor's Commission on Persons with Disabilities. I will need a motion to
So
accept
moved.
those. Councilman Daughtridge made a motion, seconded by Councilman Joyner. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Anybody have any closing comments they would like to bring before? Yes, sir. Councilman Joyner?
Thank you, Councilman Blackwell, and thank you to the project in Brownview. I want to literally thank our local churches for opening your doors. A lot of these community meetings are held in our local churches, and they charge us nothing for the use of their churches and their space. And so just want to say thank you for you opening your doors, and Victory, Pastor Batts, and all of the churches that are participating to help us to bring our community together, to host these meetings, and to build sustainability in our community. So to our churches, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, with that, having no other business here before the City Council tonight, I now adjourn the meeting.